Ryan Coogler's new masterpiece, Sinners, is a window into 1930s Mississippi as much as it is a vampire action horror, and history is in all the movie's memorable long takes. It has been hard to avoid talk of Sinners in the last few months, starring Michael B. Jordan as twin brothers Smoke and Stack, former gangsters who return to their hometown with stolen money to open a juke joint. While the main conflict comes from the building being swarmed by vampires on its first night, Sinners is the topic of early awards discussions because of how it showcases multiple histories and cultures. When they get back, Smoke and Stack recruit their cousin Sammy, Miles Cardone, and friend Delta Slim, Delroy Lindo, to be the joint's musicians Cornbread, Omar Miller, to watch the door, and Smoke's estranged wife Annie, Wunmi Mosako, as well as married store owners Grace, Lee Junli, and Bo Yao, to handle the catering. Sinners' soundtrack showcases many musical styles, many of which are connected through the evolution of this music. Yet many more details are based on the history that Coogler and his team dug up for this project, including Grace and Bo's business, which is highlighted during the movie's second-best long take. Grace and Bo own two grocery stores across the street from each other in Sinners. Bo sends Lisa to get Grace at the other store across the street. Sinners' masterful musical one-shot, depicting performers of different eras joining the party at the juke joint through the magic of Sammy's music, is undoubtedly the movie's piece de resistance. However, before this, there is another underappreciated, uninterrupted shot that amps up the movie's building excitement when Lisa Chow, Helena, who walks from one store to another across the street to get her mother, and Grace walks back to talk with Bo and Smoke. If it is unclear to some viewers, both buildings are grocery stores, and both are owned by the Chows. One caters to black customers, and the other to white customers. The Chows were based on Asian business owners in 1930s Mississippi. Ryan Coogler worked with documentarian Dolly Lee on the Chows storyline. Coogler created Grace and Bo's characters after hearing about his father-in-law's Chinese ancestors who lived in the Mississippi Delta, as well as seeing the documentary series The Untold Story of America's Southern Chinese. A producer of this documentary, Dolly Lee, was a cultural consultant for Sinners, who first got in touch with Coogler after he watched the documentary via Slashfilm. As Chinese-run businesses and the circumstances under which these people's children grew up are focal points of the docuseries, Coogler became committed to representing them in his movie. Grace and Bo sell most things to the town, including Grace providing a custom sign at the last minute for the twins' juke joint. Their teenage daughter may also have been intended to be a reference to Jean Mascas, a woman who was interviewed for Lee's documentary, as she grew up with her parents running a grocery store in the 1930s in Mississippi. They also lived in this building. Thus, Coogler creates as full a picture of this setting as he could hope for in a single movie's runtime, giving us a sense of the economics as well as the art of the time. The Chows owning two grocery stores is historically accurate and gives us another great long take. Grace's memorable introduction also emphasizes segregation. Yao as Bo Chow in Sinners. Furthermore, Grace and Bo's business is directly inspired by the Min Sang and Company grocery stores on Alexander Street in Greenville, Mississippi. Sinners takes place in an apparently small town, where owning two grocery stores, let alone two right across the street from each other, would be of debatable value. However, the setup is historically accurate due to segregation laws at the time. The one shot of Lisa walking across the street and Grace walking back is compelling, elevating Grace's entrance into the story, but also works to further illustrate the racism that is important to Sinners' themes. Thanks for coming.